The first police cruiser screeched to a halt directly behind Marcus's U-Haul, blocking any chance of escape. Officer Janet Williams stepped out. Marcus recognized her from the community barbecues before everything went sideways. Her hand rested on her service weapon, but her eyes were scanning the scene with professional confusion. "We got a call about an armed disturbance," she announced, but her voice carried uncertainty. Multiple reports of weapons being brandished. Marcus kept his phone steady, live streaming everything. His viewer count had exploded past 1,500, and the comments were flying by too fast to read. Someone had already identified Officer Williams and was posting her commendation. Record apparently she'd been decorated twice for de-escalating domestic violence situations. "Officer Williams," Marcus called out, his voice carrying the calm authority of someone used to chaos. "Marcus Chen, 1847, Maple Drive. No weapons have been brandished. Mr. Pemberton here brought private security to prevent me from moving out of my own home." Pemberton stepped forward, his politician's smile sliding back into place. "Officer, thank God you're here. Mr. Chen has been threatening me and my associates. He's live streaming without consent, and he's on a public sidewalk." Williams interrupted, her cop instincts clearly picking up on something wrong with his picture. "And live streaming isn't illegal." She looked directly at Marcus's phone camera. "Sir, can you lower the device while we sort this out?" "Respectfully, officer, no. This stream is the only thing standing between me and whatever Mr. Pemberton has planned." Marcus gestured toward the black van that had parked at the end of the street. That unmarked vehicle showed up right after Pemberton made his phone call. "My viewers deserve to see what happens next." The comment section was going nuclear. Someone had identified the security company Blackstone Solutions, recently sued for excessive force in 3 states. Another viewer was a paralegal who'd pulled up the county records and confirmed no restraining order existed. Officer Williams was reading her phone, probably getting updates from dispatch. Her expression was shifting from confusion to concern. "Mr. Pemberton," she said slowly, "dispatch says there's no record of a TRO filed against Mr. Chen. Want to explain that document you're holding?" The silver-haired man's confident mask slipped again. "There must be some administrative delay. Judge Harrison assured me." "Judge Harrison is in Cabo this week," Williams said flatly. "Has been for 5 days. I know because my brother-in-law is his bailiff." The livestream chat exploded with fire emojis and busted comments. Marcus watched his viewer count hit 2,000. Local news outlets were already sliding into the comments section, asking for permission to use the footage. But the black van was moving now, creeping closer. Marcus caught the glint of telephoto lenses in the tinted windows. Either surveillance or media. Given Pemberton's connections, it could be either. "Look, everyone just needs to calm down," Pemberton said, but sweat was beading on his forehead despite the cool morning air. "Marcus, you're clearly upset about the board's decision regarding your complaints. Why don't we go inside and discuss this like civilized people?" "Because," Marcus said, panning his camera to capture Pemberton's security team trying to fade into the background, "civilized people don't hire armed thugs to intimidate their neighbors." Torres, the linebacker-sized security leader, was speaking urgently into his radio. Marcus couldn't make out the words, but the body language was clear. They were requesting immediate extraction. Officer Williams stepped between Marcus and Pemberton's group. "I'm going to need everyone's identification. And Mr. Torres, I can see that shoulder holster from here. You licensed to carry in this county?" Before Torres could answer, phone buzzed with an incoming call. The caller ID made his blood freeze. Sarah Chen, Denver Post. His sister, the investigative journalist who'd been tracking corruption in Colorado HOS for 2 years. The sister he'd specifically asked not to get involved because he didn't want her career tangled up in his personal drama. He answered on speaker, keeping the live stream running. "Marcus, what the hell is going on?" Sarah's voice carried the sharp edge of a reporter who'd caught the scent of a major story. "I'm watching your stream, and I've got 3 sources confirming that Pemberton's been using HOA funds to hire private security for personal vendettas." The chat section went insane. Marcus watched his viewer count surge past 3,000. "Sarah, not now, no, definitely now. I've been investigating Willowbrook Estates for 6 months. Pemberton's been embezzling HOA funds, taking kickbacks from contractors, and using association resources to silence opposition. You're not his first target. Marcus, you're just the first one stupid enough to live stream it." Pemberton had gone white as paper. "Turn that off. Turn it off right now." Officer Williams was listening with growing interest. "Ma'am, this is Officer Williams with County Police. Are you alleging criminal activity?" "I'm alleging fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and about 6 other felonies." Sarah's voice came through crystal clear. "And if that's Richard Pemberton I hear in the background, he should know that the FBI opened a formal investigation into his activities yesterday morning." The security team was already moving toward their car. Whatever Pemberton was paying them, federal heat wasn't part of the contract. But Pemberton wasn't done. His face had shifted from panic to cold calculation. The look of a man who'd backed too many people into corners to go down without a fight. "You think you're clever?" Chen, you think some live stream and your muckraking sister are going to save you? He pulled out his phone again. One call, and I'll have code enforcement, the fire marshal, and child protective services at your door. I'll have your neighbors' property values tanking and their insurance canceled. I'll make this entire community understand exactly what happens. When you cross me, the threat was clear, and it was on camera. But Marcus was smiling now, the cold smile of a soldier who'd just watched his enemy make a fatal tactical error. You know what, Richard? Make those calls, please, because what you just did was threaten retaliation against innocent neighbors to intimidate a witness to your crimes. On camera, in front of a police officer, with 4,000 people watching. Officer Williams was already reaching for her handcuffs. Mr. Pemberton, you're under arrest for the black van, suddenly roared to life, tires squealing as it accelerated directly toward Marcus's position. Not to hit him, that angle was wrong, but to create chaos, to scatter the crowd, to disrupt the live stream. Marcus's combat instincts kicked in. He dove left, pulling Officer Williams with him as the van skidded to a stop where they'd been standing. His phone flew from his hand, sliding across the asphalt but still streaming. From the van emerged 4 more men in tactical gear, but these weren't private security. They moved with military precision, establishing a defensive perimeter around Pemberton like they were extracting a VIP from a hot zone. Federal agents, one of them shouted, flashing a badge. Everyone stepped back, but Officer Williams was already on her radio, and Marcus could see more police cars approaching from both directions. His phone, still streaming from where it had landed, was capturing everything from a dramatic low angle. The chat was absolute chaos. Viewers were screenshotting badge numbers, analyzing tactical gear, and someone claiming to be a federal agent was calling bullshit on the whole extraction. Marcus rolled to his feet, his prosthetic leg sending shooting pain up his thigh, but his training kept him focused. These weren't federal agents. Federal agents didn't roll up in unmarked vans to extract HOA presidents. They didn't move like a private military contractor. Sarah, he called out, hoping his sister was still on the line. I need you to call every news outlet in Colorado right now. Already on it. Her voice came through his phone speaker. Channel 7 has a news van en route, and I've got the FBI field office on the other line. Those aren't federal agents. Marcus Feds would have coordinated with local police. The fake agents were trying to hustle Pemberton toward their van, but more police cars were arriving, forming a loose containment around the scene. Marcus could see neighbors emerging from their houses, phones out, adding their own streams to the digital record. Pemberton broke free from his supposed rescuers and pointed directly at Marcus. This isn't over, Chen. You have no idea what you've started. But as he spoke, Marcus noticed something that made his soldier's heart sing with vindication. One of the federal agents had just made a critical error. He'd turned his back to adjust his earpiece, revealing the small Blackstone Solutions logo embroidered on his tactical vest. The same company Torres worked for, the same company now under federal investigation, according to his sister's sources. Marcus looked directly into his phone's camera, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding him. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is a private military contractor impersonating federal agents to extract a man under investigation for fraud and embezzlement, and we've got it all on camera. The viewer count hit 6,000 and climbing as sirens wailed in the distance, real sirens this time, announcing the arrival of actual federal agents who'd been monitoring the live stream and coordinating with local police. Pemberton's empire wasn't just cracking, it was about to shatter completely. The black SUVs arrived like avenging angels, 3 of them, unmarked but unmistakably federal, their occupants moving with the coordinated precision that only came from years of actual law enforcement training. Marcus watched through his phone's camera as real FBI agents deployed, their movements a stark contrast to the theatrical posturing of Pemberton's hired contractors. Special Agent Victoria Martinez stepped out of the lead vehicle, her voice carrying the absolute authority of someone who'd spent 15 years dismantling organized crime networks. FBI, everyone on the ground, hands visible. The fake federal agents froze like deer in headlights. Their leader, still wearing the Blackstone Solutions vest he'd foolishly exposed, made the mistake of reaching for his radio. Hands, show me. Your hands? Agent Martinez had her weapon drawn, and Marcus could see the terror in the contractor's eyes as he realized how completely he'd miscalculated. Pemberton was backing toward his Mercedes, his face cycling through panic, rage, and desperate calculation. This is harassment. I know my rights. I demand to speak to Richard Pemberton. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, embezzlement of community association funds, and about 12 other federal charges we'll discuss downtown. Martinez nodded to her team. Mirandize him. The livestream chat was moving so fast it was just a blur of celebration, emojis, and legal commentary. Marcus's viewer count had hit 8,000, and major news outlets were requesting permission to use his footage. Someone had created a hashtag. #VetVSHOA was trending nationwide. But Marcus was focused on Officer Williams, who was coordinating with the FBI agents to secure the Blackstone contractors. Torres and his team were face down on the asphalt, zip-tied and looking very much like men who'd just realized their careers were over. "Marcus." Sarah's voice came through his phone speaker. "Are you getting this? Channel 7 is running your stream live on their morning show. Your national news, little brother." Marcus limped over to retrieve his phone from where it had skidded, keeping the camera steady despite the chaos. His prosthetic was aching, but adrenaline was carrying him through. "I'm getting it," he said, panning across the scene. "Question is, are our viewers getting the whole story?" That's when he noticed Mrs. Rodriguez approaching from her house, clutching a manila envelope. The elderly woman who'd been watching from her kitchen window looked determined, despite the federal agents swarming the street. "Marcus," she called out, "I have something for you." Agent Martinez intercepted her. "Ma'am, this is an active crime scene. I need you to." "I have documents," Mrs. Rodriguez said firmly. "Documents Mr. Pemberton tried to make me sign. Documents about selling my house to his development company for half its value." Martinez's expression sharpened. "What kind of documents? Foreclosure papers? Even though my mortgage is current? Insurance cancellation notices for policies that were never late? Code violations for repairs I already made?" Mrs. Rodriguez held up the envelope. He said, "If I didn't sell, accidents might happen. My grandchildren visit here." "Agent Martinez." He threatened my grandchildren. The FBI agent's jaw tightened. Marcus caught it all on camera, the moment when a federal investigation shifted from financial crimes to something much darker. "How many other residents did he approach?" Martinez asked. 12 families on this street alone," Mrs. Rodriguez replied, but Marcus was the only one who fought back. "The rest of us were too scared." Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. This wasn't just about HOA corruption, or even embezzlement. Pemberton had been running a systematic intimidation campaign to force residents out of their homes so his development company could buy the properties cheap. "Sarah," he said into his phone, "are you recording this?" "Every word." "Marcus, this is huge. Predatory real estate schemes, elder abuse, conspiracy. This guy's looking at decades in federal prison." But Pemberton wasn't done fighting. Even as FBI agents moved to arrest him, he was shouting into his phone, "I want my lawyer. And I want Senator Harrison's office on the line. You people have no idea who you're dealing with." Agent Martinez paused. "Senator Harrison? His nephew?" Pemberton snarled. "James Harrison, the judge who was supposed to sign the restraining order? You think this ends with me? You think I don't have protections in place?" Marcus watched Martinez exchange glances with her partner. Corruption cases were one thing, but when they touched political figures, everything became more complicated. "Agent Martinez," Marcus called out, making sure his phone captured her response. "My viewers deserve to know, is Senator Harrison under investigation too?" Before Martinez could answer, another black SUV pulled up. This one was different, armored, with government plates, and the man who stepped out moved with the careful precision of someone used to navigating political minefields. Marcus recognized him immediately from news footage. Assistant U.S. Attorney David Kim, the federal prosecutor who'd built his career dismantling public corruption rings. "Agent Martinez," Kim's voice carried quiet authority, "I'll be taking point on this investigation. We've been tracking Mr. Pemberton's activities as part of a larger operation." The prosecutor looked directly at Marcus's phone camera, and Marcus realized he was about to witness something unprecedented. A federal prosecutor addressing the public directly during an active arrest. "Citizens of Colorado," Kim said, "what you're witnessing today is the result of a 6-month joint investigation into systematic corruption in homeowners associations across 3 counties. Mr. Pemberton is one of 17 individuals we're arresting today in coordination with local law enforcement." The chat exploded. Marcus's viewer count surged past 12,000. "The schemes you've seen here: intimidation, fraudulent legal documents, hired security to silence opposition. These tactics were being used to force homeowners out of their properties for illegal real estate speculation." Pemberton was screaming now, his composed facade completely shattered. "You can't do this. I have connections. You have the right to remain silent," Martinez said, finally snapping the handcuffs on his wrists. "I suggest you use it." As they loaded Pemberton into the federal transport vehicle, Marcus noticed something that made his soldier's heart race with vindication. One of the FBI agents was holding up a tablet, and on the screen was Marcus's own live stream. "Agent Martinez," the agent called out. "The suspect's phone records show he was coordinating with associates in real time. They've been watching the stream too." Martinez nodded grimly. "How many other locations?" 7 raids happening simultaneously. Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins. "Your stream triggered coordinated arrests across the state. Mr. Chen?" Marcus looked directly into his camera, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he'd just witnessed. "Ladies and gentlemen, what started as one combat veteran trying to move out of a toxic HOA just became the trigger for the largest public corruption bust in Colorado history." But as federal agents secured the scene and Pemberton disappeared into the back of a government SUV, Marcus noticed something that chilled him to the bone. The fake federal agents, the Blackstone contractors, weren't being arrested. They were being released, their zip ties cut, their weapons returned. Agent Martinez was shaking hands with their team leader, exchanging business cards like old colleagues. Marcus kept his camera rolling, but his mind was racing. If the FBI was coordinating with the same private military contractor that had been intimidating residents, then the corruption went deeper than anyone realized. And Marcus Chen, disabled veteran with a live stream and 47 original subscribers, had just painted a target on his back that reached all the way to Washington, D.C. The realization hit Marcus like incoming artillery. The careful handshakes between Agent Martinez and the Blackstone team leader, the professional courtesy extended to men who'd just impersonated federal agents. The way Martinez avoided his camera when the contractors were released, his live stream was still running, viewer count now approaching 15,000, but Marcus felt the familiar weight of being in enemy territory without backup. He'd seen this before in Afghanistan, the moment when you realized the people supposed to be on your side were playing a different game entirely. "Sarah," he said quietly into his phone, "I need you to start backing up this stream to multiple servers immediately." "Already on it." "Marcus, what's wrong? This is incredibly you just brought down a major corruption ring. Did I just give someone cover to clean house and eliminate witnesses?" Through his camera, Marcus watched U.S. Attorney Kim having an intense conversation with Agent Martinez. Their body language was all wrong, too familiar, too coordinated. This wasn't a prosecutor meeting an FBI agent for the first time on a case. Mrs. Rodriguez was still standing nearby, clutching her envelope of evidence. But now Marcus noticed the way the federal agents were avoiding her. No one was taking her statement. No one was collecting her documents. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Marcus called out, keeping his voice casual for the line, "would you mind showing our viewers those documents Pemberton tried to make you sign?" The elderly woman approached, his camera eagerly. "Of course, people need to see what these criminals, ma'am." Agent Martinez materialized beside them with disturbing speed. "Those are evidence in an ongoing federal investigation. I'll need to confiscate them immediately. But I made copies, copies, ma'am, for your own protection." Marcus felt his combat instincts screaming warnings. In Afghanistan, when friendlies started talking about your protection while confiscating intelligence, it usually meant someone was about to disappear. "Agent Martinez," Marcus said, making sure his camera captured her face clearly. "Mrs. Rodriguez is willing to provide testimony about elder abuse and property fraud. Shouldn't she be interviewed by your team?" Martinez's smile was professional, but cold. "Mr. Chen, perhaps you should consider ending your lives. Some investigations require discretion to protect ongoing operations." "Which investigations would those be?" "The ones that could get innocent people hurt if the wrong people see too much." The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Marcus had heard similar warnings from CIA operatives in Kandahar, bureaucratic language that meant shut up or face consequences. But Marcus Chen hadn't survived 2 tours of duty to be intimidated by corrupt federal agents in his own neighborhood. "You know what, Agent Martinez, you're absolutely right. Some investigations do require discretion." He turned his camera to face himself directly. "Viewers, what you're witnessing is a federal agent threatening a disabled veteran for documenting criminal activity. Agent Martinez just suggested that live streaming arrests of public officials could get innocent people hurt." The chat section exploded with outrage. Marcus's viewer count spiked to 20,000. "But here's what Agent Martinez doesn't know," Marcus continued, limping toward his U-Haul while keeping the camera steady. "I've been recording everything that happened here today on multiple independent systems. Hidden cameras, backup servers, redundant uploads. Even if this live stream goes dark, the evidence survives." Martinez was following him now, her professional demeanor cracking. "Mr. Chen, you're interfering with a federal investigation. Am I, or am I documenting one?" Marcus reached his truck and opened the rear door, revealing boxes of his belongings, but also something else that made Martinez freeze. A military-grade communications setup, satellite uplink, encrypted transmission equipment, and multiple backup recording devices, all professionally installed and clearly operational. 22 years military intelligence, Agent Martinez. "I know how to document criminal activity, and I know how to protect evidence from people who might want it to disappear." Sarah's voice came through his phone speaker, sharp with concern. "Marcus, Channel 7 just lost their feed from your stream. Someone's jamming your signal." Marcus looked at his phone. The live stream was still running, but the upload indicator was flashing red, connection unstable. Someone with serious technical capability was interfering with his broadcast. "Viewers, if this stream cuts out, remember what you've seen. Remember Agent Martinez releasing the contractors who impersonated federal agents. Remember a U.S. attorney who seemed awfully familiar with a supposed corruption investigation that supposedly just began." Martinez had her hand on her weapon now. "Mr. Chen, step away from the vehicle." "Why? What's in my truck that concerns you?" "Potential evidence of what crime? I'm moving out of my home." "That's not illegal." But Marcus was already moving, his prosthetic clicking against the truck's metal floor as he climbed inside. What he'd shown Martinez was just the visible equipment. The real prize was hidden in a false bottom beneath his clothing boxes, hard drives containing 6 months of surveillance footage from around Willowbrook Estates, footage that would show exactly who had been visiting Pemberton's house at night, which federal vehicles had been parked in his driveway, which senators' cars had been spotted in the community. "Sarah," he said, his voice carrying the calm precision of a soldier under fire, "initiate Protocol 7. Marcus, are you sure? Once that's triggered, do it." Protocol 7 was something Marcus had learned from a Navy SEAL buddy who'd gone into private security. Dead man switch shift. Marcus didn't check in every 12 hours. Everything he'd recorded would automatically upload to WikiLeaks, The Washington Post, and 12 other news organizations simultaneously. Martinez must have recognized military jargon because her entire posture shifted. "What's Protocol 7? Marcus climbed down from his truck, his camera still rolling despite the signal interference. "Insurance policy, the kind that keeps honest citizens alive when they stumble across things powerful people want to stay hidden. You're paranoid, am I?" Marcus gestured toward the street, where the Blackstone contractors were loading into their vehicles, not under arrest, not under surveillance, just leaving like nothing had happened. "Your boys there just committed multiple felonies, impersonating federal agents, but they're driving away free. Want to explain that to my viewers?" Martinez looked directly into his camera, and Marcus saw something that chilled him, not anger or frustration, but calculation. She was weighing options, assessing threats, deciding whether Marcus Chen was worth the risk of eliminating. "Mr. Chen," she said slowly, "you've been very helpful to our investigation, but sometimes good citizens can become liabilities if they dig too deep into matters that affect national security." "National security?" Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Lady, this started with an HOA trying to block my moving truck. If questioning corrupt homeowners associations is a threat to national security, then we've got bigger problems than I thought." That's when Marcus noticed the black sedan parked at the end of the street. It had been there since the beginning, but he'd dismissed it as neighborhood traffic. Now he could see the figures inside, watching, recording, coordinating, and the license plate was government issued. "Sarah," he said quietly, "how many agencies are involved in this investigation?" "According to my sources, just FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office." "Why?" "Because we've got what looks like CIA surveillance at the end of my street." The chat section went absolutely insane. Marcus's viewer count hit 25,000 despite the signal interference. Agent Martinez had gone pale. "You need to stop talking. Right now, or what? You'll arrest me for live streaming in my own neighborhood, or you'll find out exactly how deep this goes. And trust me, Mr. Chun, you don't want that kind of education." But Marcus was already smiling, the cold smile of a soldier who'd just realized his enemy had made a fatal mistake. "Agent Martinez, I think it's too late for that, because what you just said, that was a direct threat against a U.S. citizen for exercising his constitutional rights." On camera, with 25,000 witnesses, he looked directly into his phone's camera, his voice carrying the absolute authority of someone who'd faced down enemy fire and lived to tell about it. "Ladies and gentlemen, if something happens to me in the next few days, you'll know exactly who was responsible. And thanks to Protocol 7, you'll get the whole story whether I'm alive to tell it or not." The black sedan was moving now, approaching slowly. Marcus could see multiple occupants, and the way they moved suggested serious training, but so did Marcus Chen, and he'd just realized that whatever was happening in Willowbrook Estates was big enough to bring CIA assets into play, meant it was big enough to take down everyone involved if he played his cards right. The black sedan stopped 30 feet away, close enough to establish presence, but far enough to avoid appearing on camera. Marcus recognized the tactical position in close surveillance without direct confrontation. His viewer count had stabilized at 28,000 despite ongoing signal interference, and the chat was filled with people screenshotting license plates and identifying government vehicles. "Sarah," he said quietly into his phone, "are you seeing the sedan?" "I'm seeing everything, Marcus, and so is half of America. CNN just picked up your stream. You're about to go national in a very big way." Agent Martinez was speaking urgently into her radio, her professional composure completely shattered. Whatever she'd expected when she arrived at Willowbrook Estates, it wasn't a disabled veteran with military intelligence training broadcasting federal crimes to a global audience. That's when Marcus heard the sound that changed everything, the distant whine of helicopter rotors approaching from the west. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to his camera, "we're about to have some very interesting visitors." The helicopter came in low and fast, unmarked but clearly military. It settled onto the community's small park, rotors still spinning, and Marcus felt his blood turn to ice as he recognized the figure stepping out. Colonel James Morrison, Marcus's former commanding officer in Afghanistan, the man who'd pinned the Bronze Star on Marcus's chest after the IED incident that took his leg. Morrison approached with the measured stride of someone accustomed to command, but his expression was grim. He was flanked by two men in civilian clothes who moved with the deadly precision of Special Operations Forces. Marcus Morrison's voice carried across the street with parade ground authority. "We need to talk." Marcus kept his camera steady, but his mind was racing. Morrison showing up meant this operation had Pentagon involvement, which meant whatever Pemberton had stumbled into or been part of touched classified national security interests. Colonel Morrison, Marcus said, making sure his live stream captured everything. Always a pleasure, sir. Though I have to say, this is quite an escalation for an HOA dispute. Morrison stopped just outside camera range, his weathered face showing genuine concern. Son, you need to shut down that stream and come with us right now. Can't do that, sir. Too many people depending on this information getting out. Marcus, listen to me very carefully. What you've stumbled into isn't what you think it is. Pemberton wasn't just stealing HOA money. He was laundering funds for a foreign intelligence operation that's been running for 3 years. The chat section exploded with speculation and theories. Marcus felt the familiar weight of being caught between competing loyalties: his duty to expose corruption and his loyalty to national security. If that's true, Colonel, then why are Agent Martinez and her team trying to cover it up instead of investigating it? Morrison's expression darkened. Because Agent Martinez isn't FBI. She's SVR Russian Foreign Intelligence. The real FBI team is about 20 minutes out, but by then, everyone who can testify about this operation will be dead or disappeared. Marcus felt the world tilt on its axis. SVR, Russian intelligence. Which meant the federal agents who'd arrested Pemberton weren't there to investigate corruption, they were there to eliminate witnesses and clean up a blown operation. Sarah, Marcus said urgently, did you get that? Every word. Marcus, if Morrison's telling the truth, you're in immediate danger. Real FBI assets are confirming multiple false identification badges at your location. Agent Martinez, or whoever she really was, had heard Morrison's revelation. She was speaking rapidly into her radio in what sounded like Russian, her careful American accent slipping completely. Marcus, Morrison called out, I know you don't trust anyone right now, but you need to make a choice. Come with us willingly, or we extract you by force. Either way, you're not staying here. But Marcus was already moving, his prosthetic clicking against the asphalt as he positioned himself behind his U-Haul. Military training had taught him that in situations like this, the safest place was often the most exposed, where everyone could see what happened to you. With respect, Colonel, I'm not going anywhere until the real FBI arrives and sorts this out. Too many people have died because witnesses disappeared at convenient moments. That's when the shooting started. The first shot came from the black sedan, shattering Marcus's phone and ending the live stream abruptly. But Marcus had planned for this. Backup cameras hidden in his landscaping immediately picked up the feed, and his sister was broadcasting through emergency channels. Morrison and his team returned fire with professional precision, their weapons appearing as if by magic. Agent Martinez and her fake FBI team were caught in a crossfire between Special Operations Forces and what Marcus now realized were Russian operatives. Marcus rolled under his U-Haul, his prosthetic sending lightning bolts of pain up his leg, but adrenaline kept him focused. This was Kandahar all over again, except instead of Taliban fighters, he was caught between American Special Forces and Russian intelligence operatives. The gunfight lasted exactly 93 seconds. Marcus counted automatically, old habits, from calling in air support. When the shooting stopped, Agent Martinez was face down on the asphalt with Morrison's boot on her back, zip-tied and looking very much like someone whose cover had been comprehensively blown. Marcus, Morrison called out, "It's over, you can come out." But Marcus wasn't moving. Something was wrong. The timeline didn't add up. If Morrison had known about the Russian operation, why wait until Marcus's live stream to intervene? Why not stop it before civilians were endangered? Colonel, Marcus called out from under his truck, I need to see some identification. Real identification. Morrison's laugh was genuine. Smart man. Always were too paranoid for your own good. He approached the truck slowly, hands visible, and slid his military ID across the asphalt where Marcus could see it. But he also slid something else, a folded piece of paper with a message written in Marcus's own handwriting. Trust the process, MC. Marcus stared at the note, his mind reeling. It was something he'd written 6 months ago, back when this whole nightmare started. A reminder to himself when the paranoia got too strong. But how did Morrison have it? Because, Morrison said, reading his expression, we've been watching this operation develop for 8 months. Pemberton wasn't just laundering money, he was identifying military families. Veterans with security clearances, people who could be compromised or eliminated to protect the operation. Marcus felt pieces clicking into place. The systematic intimidation of residents, the focus on veterans and federal employees, the property acquisition scheme that specifically targeted people with access to classified information. You were bait. Morrison continued. A disabled veteran with military intelligence background, perfect target for recruitment or elimination. But you were also the perfect witness, someone with the training to document everything and the integrity to expose it. Marcus crawled out from under the truck, his camera backup systems still broadcasting to his sister's emergency channels. So this whole thing was a joint CO-Pentagon operation to identify and neutralize a Russian intelligence cell that had been operating in Colorado for 3 years. Your HOA dispute gave us the perfect cover to let them expose themselves. The sound of sirens was growing louder. Real FBI this time, Morrison assured him, along with the Department of Justice investigators who would need Marcus's testimony to prosecute everyone involved. But as Marcus looked around at the aftermath, fake federal agents zip-tied on his neighbor's lawn, Russian operatives in custody, a military helicopter parked in his community park, he realized the most important thing. His livestream had worked. 30,000 people had witnessed the truth, recorded the evidence, and seen justice served in real time. Mrs. Rodriguez approached cautiously, still clutching her envelope of documents. "Marcus," she said quietly, "is it over?" Marcus looked at his destroyed neighborhood, at the federal agents securing evidence, at Morrison coordinating with arriving reinforcements. "Yes, ma'am," he said, helping her navigate around the crime scene tape. "It's over." But even as he said it, Marcus noticed something that made his soldier's instincts prickle with unease. Morrison was speaking into a secure radio, and Marcus caught just enough of the conversation to realize that Willowbrook Estates wasn't the only community where this operation had been running. The war was over, but the larger battle was just beginning. The security camera footage showed everything: 3 men in black tactical gear surrounding Marcus Chin's moving truck at 6 a.m., hands hovering near concealed weapons. What they didn't know was that the quiet neighbor loading boxes had survived 2 tours in Afghanistan and had cameras positioned at every angle. When the HOA president stepped out of his Mercedes with a restraining order in one hand and a smug smile on his face, Marcus reached for something that would change everything. The hired muscle thought they were intimidating a helpless homeowner. They were dead wrong. The morning mist still clung to Willowbrook Estates' manicured lawns when Marcus Chen backed the U-Haul up to his driveway. 6 months of planning, 3 job interviews, and 1 accepted offer in Denver, everything riding on this move going smoothly. He'd already loaded half his belongings the night before, but HOA regulations strictly prohibited overnight parking of commercial vehicles. Dawn was his window. Marcus stepped down from the truck's cab, his prosthetic leg hitting the asphalt with a metallic click that echoed in the suburban quiet. 15 years since that IED in Kandahar took his left leg, below the knee, but he'd learned to move with the same fluid precision that had kept his squad alive. Old habits. He was reaching for the truck's rear door when movement caught his peripheral vision. 3 men emerged from behind the community mailbox cluster, their coordinated approach immediately triggering his combat instincts. Black polo, shirts, tactical pants, earpieces, private security, but the kind that worked gray areas. "Morning, Mr. Chen." The lead man was built like a linebacker, his voice carrying the practiced calm of someone used to intimidation. "I'm going to need you to step away from the vehicle." Marcus's hand froze on the door handle. "I'm sorry, who are you?" "Security for the Homeowners Association. There's been a complaint filed regarding unauthorized moving activities." The other 2 had fanned out. Classic containment formation. Marcus's training kicked in: automatically assess threats, identify exits, calculate response options. These weren't mall cops. Their positioning was too professional, their awareness too sharp. "I have until 8 a.m., according to the HOA bylaws," Marcus said, keeping his voice level. "I checked. Plans change." The linebacker stepped closer. "Mr. Pemberton wants to speak with you." Richard Pemberton, HOA president for 6 years running, real estate developer, and the reason Marcus was leaving Willowbrook in the first place. Ever since Marcus had opposed Pemberton's plan to convert the community park into luxury condos, their relationship had devolved into open warfare. "Where is Pemberton?" As if summoned, a silver Mercedes pulled up to the curb. Richard Pemberton stepped out, his $1,000 suit immaculate despite the early hour. 62 years old, silver-haired, with the predatory smile of someone who'd never lost a fight he couldn't buy his way out of. "Marcus, Marcus, Marcus." Pemberton approached with theatrical disappointment. "You really thought you could just sneak out in the middle of the night? It's 6:30 in the morning, and I'm following every regulation in your precious HOA manual." Pemberton pulled a folded document from his jacket. "Temporary restraining order. Filed yesterday evening with Judge Harrison. You're not going anywhere until the association's lawsuit against you is resolved." Marcus felt ice form in his chest. What lawsuit? Destruction of community property? Harassment of board members? Violation of architectural guidelines? Pemberton's smile widened. "Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences for your little crusade?" The 3 security men had closed the distance now, forming a loose semicircle. Marcus recognized the type: ex-military, or ex-polis, the kind who worked for firms that specialized in problem resolution for wealthy clients. His neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, was watching from her kitchen window, phone pressed to her ear. "This is harassment," Marcus said. "This is business." Pemberton nodded to the linebacker. "Mr. Torres, please ensure Mr. Chen doesn't attempt to leave the premises while we sort this out." Torres reached toward his jacket, not for a weapon that would be too obvious, but Marcus caught the telltale outline of a shoulder holster beneath the fabric. The message was clear. What they didn't know was that Marcus had been expecting something like this for weeks. Ever since his heated confrontation with Pemberton at the last board meeting, Marcus had felt the walls closing in. Pemberton had too much money, too many connections, too much pride to let Marcus's opposition slide. So Marcus had prepared the security cameras were obvious visible deterrents mounted under his eaves and on his garage. But the real surveillance system was invisible. Microcameras hidden in his landscaping, motion sensors disguised as garden lights, audio pickups that looked like decorative stones. His entire property was a web of electronic eyes and ears, all feeding to a secure server that automatically uploaded to cloud storage. More importantly, everything was being live-streamed to 3 different platforms under the account Vet vs HOA, a channel Marcus had started documenting Pemberton's harassment campaign. It had exactly 47 subscribers as of yesterday. But in situations like this, Marcus had learned, sometimes all you needed was one witness. You know what, Richard? Marcus straightened, his voice carrying the command authority he'd perfected leading men through fosters. I think you're right. This is business, and I'm very good at business. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen twice, and held it up so the camera captured Pemberton and his hired muscle. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Vet vs. HOA. I'm Marcus Chen, and what you're witnessing is a real-time attempted intimidation by Willowbrook Estates, HOA President Richard Pemberton, who has brought 3 armed private security contractors to prevent me from moving out of this community. Pemberton's confident expression flickered. Turn that off. This is America, Richard. Public sidewalk. First Amendment. Marcus kept the phone steady. Mr. Torres there has what appears to be a concealed weapon. Are you licensed to carry in this county, Mr. Torres? Torres's hand moved away from his jacket like he'd been burned. The restraining order is fake. By the way, Marcus continued, addressing his phone's camera. I checked the county database this morning. No TRO has been filed, but we've got it. All on camera now. Pemberton's face had gone white. You're live streaming to 3 platforms. Currently got... Marcus glanced at his screen. Holy shit. 200 viewers and climbing. The notification sounds from his phone were accelerating. New followers, shares, comments flooding in. Someone had screen-grabbed Torres, reaching for his weapon. Another viewer was running facial recognition software, identifying the security company. Shut it down. Pemberton's voice had lost its casual confidence. Shut it down now. Can't do that, Richard. Democracy in action. Marcus panned the camera across the 3 security men, each of whom suddenly looked very uncomfortable about being documented. But hey, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. I've got a truck to load. Pemberton stepped forward, his mask slipping completely. You think this is over? You think some goddamn social media stunt is going to save you? I think, Marcus said, limping toward his truck's rear door, that you just threatened a disabled veteran on camera while he was trying to move out of your community, in front of 400 viewers and counting. The security team was already backing toward their car. Whatever Pemberton was paying them, it wasn't enough to risk viral infamy and potential criminal charges. But Pemberton wasn't retreating. His face had gone purple with rage, and Marcus recognized the look of a man whose entire worldview was crumbling in real time. You want to play games, Chen? Fine. Let's play games. Pemberton pulled out his own phone and made a call. It's me. Send them all. Every violation, every possible charge. I want this man buried. As he spoke, Marcus heard the distant sound of sirens approaching, not 1 or 2, but many. His viewer count had just hit 1,000, and the comment section was exploding with people sharing local news contacts and legal aid organizations. Marcus looked directly into his phone's camera, his voice steady, despite the chaos building around him. Well, folks, looks like we're about to find out exactly how deep this rabbit hole goes. The first police car rounded the corner at full speed, followed by a second, then a third. But behind them came something that made Marcus's blood run cold. Black panel van with tinted windows and no plates? Whatever Pemberton had just unleashed was bigger than a simple HOA dispute. Much bigger.